The difference between a king and a god is that a king is a mere political representative who must, because of ignorance, depend on chance as much as the general masses. A god, on the other hand, has the power to precisely influence and shape the human mass mindset, compel their outcome, and decide their mass destiny. At this point in the ages, their gods rule like puppet masters in the shadows. The kings, governments, and presidents, etc., are mere frontmen. In the paradigm of this earth plane, the motive of these gods can only be seen by the results or outcome of their deeds on planet Earth. Show me your world, and I show you your God. If he is good, the world will be good. But if he is evil, then the world will be evil. This is the face of what God looks like on earth. A societal system properly utilized will ensure that the mindset of the populace will always reflect the character of their gods, and the character of the gods will influence the actions of kings and governors that serve them. Those whom you vote for at the polls are not the gods. They are frontmen, and many of them do not even know what is going on. Besides, if they don't even understand about sociology and human relations, how are they going to bring order to any state? Please, before we get lost in the topic, hit the like button. If you have not subscribed to the channel, you can go ahead and do so now. You will get alerted for my next video. So today, I want to explain a certain perspective of Godhood to you. God is your greatest influences all day, every day. There is this one teacher that taught you something special, and you will not forget. You will not forget her. For every time you find yourself in the similar situation, you wonder what Miss Frey or what Mr. Peters would do. And this continues for the rest of your life. Even if you become wiser than this character, you will still be looking up to him or her and still be in the presence of the of his or her wisdom and truth. When the occasion arises, automatically, almost magically, you begin to access that same energy of this person, even if they are no more with us. You behave the same way, say the same words, make the same decisions, and get the same results. Those were the results that worked. Now you resort back to your own personality. This is a secret about you that you might not even know about yourself. Think about it and then tell me if I am wrong. You change personalities every day to tune into different versions of Godhood inside of you. Yes, I am saying that this teacher lives inside you as God in an ancestral sense. This teacher is a part of your evolution, and the lessons you learn from this person will change not only you but your entire bloodline moving forward for eternity. Sometimes this influencer is an ex or a schoolmate. Like I met an ex after over a decade and we were having a conversation. It was a surreal moment for me listening to me talking to myself and using the same words that I alone would use. The only thing was that it was her talking to me. This ancestral sense of Godhood could be anyone and not necessarily older than you. There was that sense of supremacy in all or in just a particular light inside of this being that you admired and adopted. Then there is the image of God in your blood. You are afraid of heights, but you had never fallen from a tree. You cannot eat or drink certain foods, but you don't know why. You have a certain disease through no fault of yours, but it came from your parent. You remember places where you have never been, and sometimes you find things out in a dream, and you agree that it isn't just a dream that keeps repeating, but you do not come to the understanding that it is a memory. This is another sense of the ancestral gods, your fathers and mothers in your DNA. All these are based on supremacy of subject. But this is not the supremacy of God I wish to expose to you today. If you separate all in the universe, you cannot see the universe. You have to see the one to see the all. If you see a creator, you see separation, and that cannot justify all. So if you believe that you serve the supreme God, the word the makes it obvious that this supremacy is only over the particular. If your God has a name, this suggests that it is not the creator of all. So to access the all, you must see it as creation. Period. The moment you say the creator, a creator, or do you believe in a God, it nullifies this supremacy as all. The moment you ask, do you believe in God, it exposes ignorance. You cannot ask the creature if it is there while acknowledging that you come from it. You cannot tell your brother that he is an atheist for not believing in your mother. But it is just because you say that mothers send up children through their buttholes to a flying God in a heavenly skirt, and he begs to differ. So you will shame and insult his integrity. If you do not tolerate differences in opinions, why don't you stick to believing in the one fact and holding your own speculations to yourself? To say creation is simply to say all. To say creature is simply to say that which is intrinsic. So now, to turn and call the creature the atheist is that of the blasphemy. Moreover, it is utter nonsense. The creature knows that I am. You know that I am. What beyond that have you ever proven? The answer is nothing. Every utterance about a God in a Christian sense is mere pretense. Creation is obvious. I am is obvious. A God is speculation. Now, at this point, I will tell you this. But if you were not following the line of argument, the paradox will seem like the contradiction to you. From greater supremacy to lesser ones, God is the universe or creation inside of you. This is ultimate supremacy accessible by any individual. There is nothing higher. It would be impossible. God is what the creature makes of all his or her experiences from within and without. Every lesson you learn is a God force in you, bringing you to a higher sense of Godhood. But in this true sense of consciousness, you, the individual, is supreme. What if there is someone outside of you that wants supremacy over you? How could he achieve such thing? He could, if the conditions are right, by creating God spells. God spells, God spells, God spells. The use of God's spell as a means to create societies are methods used by men. Societies mean that one will possess supremacy over the other. God's spell is not just religion. Every belief system is a God spell. One perspective of Godhood is how your experiences and beliefs will affect you. They cultivate to you a mindset, a modus operandi, and a preconceived, prescribed, or even enforced notion of what is normal or acceptable. It takes the definitions of particular thoughts and turn them to the degree that they will affect your perceptions the way that ulterior motive would rather it, so that they will shepherd you. I am not here to say that societal systems are good or bad. Why would I? I have ancestral and intimate connections to the origins of societal structures. I know because the knowledge of it came here inside of me, and there is not the adverse memory to say that all their first intentions were ill will. It was only joyful exuberance in the idea that man could now create worlds with their own spirits or paradigms. We could create a societal edifice representing God at the degree of the human physical frame. Now we could create one people out of the many. The words of the spiritual man-made oracle would represent the words of God. War was no more necessary, and the warrior could now defend and enforce the words of the societal laws. Strong and weak, they could survive and be protected under the divine law as equals. Women became as powerful as men. There was peace even to that degree that it became golden ages, spanning for endless generations. Then came an entity with the appearance of mankind. These were sociopathics. They were shepherds of men to sacrifice them. They were bloodlusty people, and their joy was to fulfill the desire of hate, but saw love as weakness. They were predators, and they plundered and pillaged people that had long forgotten about how to fight war. They exploited them and made them surrender to slavery in all its forms. They were so hateful that when they tormented someone and that person screamed for pain, it, it did not draw empathy from them. It, it drew only a seething lust for more of that scream, and they used the blood and energy, sacrificing humans to satiate themselves, for they are vampires. They enjoy the energies of suffering. They say, cut him in two slowly and let me watch. Cast that one in the river by the crocodiles. Cut out his stomach and let him chew on his intestines. The energy of the screaming, the bewilderment, the inability to do nothing while watching your children die was the energy of sacrifice to these coming mankinds. They said, bring this woman to me, or bring this woman to my son as a gift. Give me his wife. But all they did was to obtain this energy of sacrifice and worship. Tell your husband that you love me, they say. And when it is said, they look at the husband as if they look at a child. They say, bow down. They say, surrender. They were the predators, so the victims were prey to them. And this is the idea. The victim had to bow, surrender, and pray to them. This was how you became the prey for their amusement. Become the prey, bow, and beg. This is the meaning. For when he bows and when he prays, he sends the message that he does not retaliate. The more he bows and prays, becomes the prey, the less pain he suffers. It is akin to recent past slavery, when the slave maker would be angry if the slave did not happily tell him good morning. It was a sign of a rebellious one. These shepherds of men went plundering and fishing for men to make all of humanity their slaves. And these events are taking place and have proceeded since thousands of years. This is a horrible topic to even recollect. We will move to higher energies, even above the resistance. We have the authority. Now is our time. These events will culminate at the ascendancy of Aquarius. The children will climb the mountain, and the oracle of the internal God will come by the earth oracle of Capricorn. The signs are in the cosmic, and that's why the beast tells you to not look up and not to stargaze. There are so many secrets on this point of stargazing that I wish someone of our descendants does know. That which was hidden in the bowels of the earth for protection will rise and be protected. Children will come that when they open their mouth, big men will fall down and tremble. It will be a joy for those of us who will be here to witness them. So let us review this system of societal edifices or God's soul edifices. I cannot quote from a book to you, but you will know what is true when you see it. At the point that you get them confused about God or to believe that God is something external, you become their God. For you start to show them God. You start to tell them what God requires. You give God names and rituals. You represent the God, and by doing so, become the God. There are two major God spells for shepherding humans that I can discern. Not two only, but two major ones. One is a societal system that in its design becomes God to the people, and then it is operated by those that dictate what God requires. The other one is the open religion. Today we talk about God as the societal edifice. But first, let me explain the way that our earth masses were tricked into betraying their gods inside them. It was by science as magic or science magic. In the golden days, an enlightened force met the masses and used science to add them. In the olden days, an enlightened force met the masses and used science to add them. And that is not in the golden days, in the olden days, because I don't want you to make mistake. The golden days were past. Like the golden age was disrupted. Okay? And then as time passed, in the olden days, an enlightened force met the masses and used science to add them. As these acts that seemed as miraculous are more miraculous than nature as they knew it were apparently controlled by external individuals. The external individuals impressed upon them that they were the gods who alone knew the necessary secrets of life. They were the only gods you could trust to know and understand these incredible things. There was no way you could trust your own understanding. They impressed. By this science magic, power was given to the esoteric. Power was given to the esoteric. Earth people, power resides with the esoteric. In this way, the knowledgeable ones became God, esoteric. The story in the Bible where Saul became king of Israel so that he could represent the unseen God was to express these events but only as subliminal reports. Power in the esoteric again, right? Because I am telling you something that you see in the Bible and you didn't know. But the power is in the esoteric. The power is in the secret, and I am telling you the secret. The story in the Bible where Saul became king of Israel so that he could represent the unseen God was to express these events but only as subliminal reports. The miracles of God in the Bible was also a record to express these science magic occurrences done to prove the power to the people and make them and surrender. With the new paradigm, a new state of mind came. For example, even words like forgiveness came as a symptom of psychological imbalance. It sounds impossible, I know. It is a STEM word used like a crutch to hold up someone who has not learned to walk. This is a word that is no longer necessary in a man whose God remained inside of him. I hope that one day I will have the chance to explain how words like forgiveness are merely symptoms of your illness, but I will throw out a key so that one who is very clairvoyant will see for himself. There is nothing to forgive in life, for in the stillness of the all we stay above the ego, and the ego will always find fingers and find someone or something outside of us to blame. Wisdom moves on, absolving all weaknesses to become better, and also to learn from past lessons. The lessons that will be given. Things will happen to make you get better. That is it. Nothing else. No fault, no nothing. There is nothing more. Anything else, including the tendency to depend on forgiveness, is a lower level vibration. It is to bask in the conceit of the ego. Let me explain something else. In the Bible, when the king sins, the Israelites are punished until there is restitution and forgiveness. It is simply to show the shifting paradigm. For example, before these guys, men understood the wisdom of God internal, man divine. Before these gods, men understood the wisdom of God internal, man divine, for they had not turned away from their gods yet. The solitary soul was saved and protected by his own means and by his own integrity. In the societal system, you must depend only on what or survive only by what the God or government says. Therefore, for example, and this is simply because many people will relate to it, if the Jamaican government takes the hand to mouth higglers off the streets in the pandemic and tell them to buy and stock a lot of food and not leave their homes for 2 weeks without paying them support for 2 weeks, his sin against God, the people, makes the people, the gods, suffer. And you must understand that a hand to mouth person, if he is lucky, will only make enough money to eat for the day in question. But he is being locked down for 2 weeks with no food. And to add insult to injury, he was told to buy a lot of food to serve him for 2 weeks. But he only made one day's food. And probably not because he was taken off the street. The government might not have to suffer, for it represents the God, and the labor of the same people serves it well. I am not trying to say that the societal system is inherently evil. Most things, if not anything, can work well if applied to work well as agreed upon by the parties involved. In the case of a societal system, after the contract is signed, the moment it is signed, the chosen gods take on supreme power. Screen turned off. If the government decides to breach the contract and he is God, then the people will be in a pickle, and their religious beliefs, mindset cultivation, and many different languages, in this case languages mean separate belief cells and divisions, will make them stuck without much recourse until the higher energies of Aquarius comes along. These gods will again these thousands of years in Godhood, only getting stronger and stronger, conquering and to conquer. One in one state who becomes king, another becomes king over another king, and it grows and grows until the day that one becomes the all-conquering king. We are living in a time, my people, where this one man on earth will see himself as King of all kings and God of all gods. Why? Because there is one man on earth today who is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. How is this possible? How is it possible? Let me explain then. I will explain how this earth God works, and then we will close off and come back, hopefully, depending on the Spirit, to finish up. We intend to finish all that we have started, but the topics come at random and we do not have to pick up at the same spot for the next video. I don't know why. It is just how the energies work. Just know this. All things will come at some point. This individual has tributaries. This God of gods on earth, the individual, he has tributaries and claim to all territories worldwide because these have long been conquered. All governments represent him, but in a sense of virtual reality that his citizens won't see. If he decides that this or that will be done worldwide, then you will notice all countries doing the same thing, even if it does not serve the good purpose for some. Say, for example, again, the pandemic, again, Jamaica. It did not serve the purpose in Jamaica for people that were poor to be locked up hungry for days. It served the purpose in the US where people were afforded financial support. But generally, it served the purpose of the divine who ordered it. It served the purpose of the diviner who ordered it. Therefore, we see where it seems like the idea was not meant to serve the people, but to follow the ritual. The period of the pandemic was traumatic to most, and maybe it works in the same way that it is easy to use that period for the examples I need. In the ages before, it was a privilege to bow before the king for favor. As you would bow before the Christian God, you would bow before the king. For the Christian God was patterned by or to the character of the earthly king to subject, surrender, and berate yourself before him so that he would know that you are kept in your bondage or you are happy to be in bondage. In fact, the Christian God system was to cultivate the subject mindset that was desirable to create the critical, to create the mediocre mindset of a slave. Today, you do not have to bow before the king. No matter how far he is or what country you are in, all is systemized in his way. Your government carries out his will. The tributary workers of your government, mayors and councillors, etc., carries out the orders of your government, which is also the will of the God. So, if you go to your councillor, you have gone to your government. If you go to your government, you have gone to your God. Therefore, his hands are everywhere. He is omnipotent. He is the Lord of hosts to you, the conquering God who has conquered and still to conquer to the final resources of your soul. He has all world power and he does not have to go there to conquer there, for his power is already everywhere. Everything in your country has been recorded and reported. All desires are fulfilled. Every birth is recorded. When the child of a sheep or slave is born, how much does this one worth? Or how much is this one worth? Is it a boy or a girl? Will we have the numbers to tax in 15 years? He knows all these numbers, but he did not have to go there to count. He is omniscient, he is omnipresent, he is omnipotent, he is God Almighty to you. It is this God who loves to receive human blood sacrifice and worship who has set up the God spell culture of Christianity for those who will not do the actual blood sacrifice to still get hooked into it. For it makes no difference whether it is symbolic. This God gives you his image that you should bow to him, and he gives you his only child in symbolic that you should sacrifice him, and that knowing how what you put forth you receive, he also claims the right to that of your children in physical value and in spiritual value. Have you ever seen an angel come from heaven to collect tithes and offerings on behalf of God in heaven? But just that he is behind the system that gives you God, and that all worship and offering that goes or that is supposed to go to God in heaven comes down to her to him instead. For he is real and the scared person in the sky is not. How rich is the Vatican? The church is claimed to be collecting to help the poor. How much go to the poor? How much go as tributary payments to higher religious bodies? Would it not be better for members to give directly to the poor? Do you believe that when scammers leave North America to Africa claiming that they need funds to give to Africans, the Africans get all those funds? But they claim that Africans desire the monies, but only to claim it themselves. And that is how the gospel of Christianity works also. I believe that this is much for you to think about. There is always so much to say, but I will leave off it now. Take time to think about it. Whether it makes sense will be downloaded to you from your subconscious. For your God is with you or is coming back to you. It is one of the reasons why you would even indulge my conversation. Peace out.